Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a week of Linux and security news for the 1st of October 2017. So starting with this article from Deloitte, one of the world's big four accountancy firms, and they've got their sticky fingers into cybersecurity services as well. So this fine article on setting up multi-factor authentication. Yes, very nice, very nice. Raising the hurdles to cyber attacks. An extra layer of protection comes when two factors required for authentication are delivered over two separate devices. Yep, very true. So, starting with this article from the Register, sensitive emails, usernames and passwords exposed in Deloitte attack. Oops, did someone forget to turn on multi-factor authentication? Ha! Couldn't even get their own shop into order, could they? So Deloitte, one of the world's big four accountancy firms, has fallen victim to a cyber attack that exposed sensitive emails to hackers. The IT security breach dates back to November 2016, but was only discovered in March this year, according to The Guardian, which broke the news, in an exclusive on Monday. So Deloitte has reportedly informed 6 of their clients that their information was impacted, and the firm's internal review into the incident is ongoing. While further news throughout the week has suggested this breach is a little bit worse than just 6 clients. Hackers gained access into Deloitte's email system through an administrative account that was not secured using two-factor authentication. So emails to and from Deloitte staff were hosted on Microsoft's Azure cloud service, as well as emails. Hackers may have had access to usernames, passwords, IP addresses, architectural diagrams for businesses and health information. Just how important is multi-factor authentication? Deloitte, as you reportedly told us, makes it a lot harder for cyber attacks to occur, doesn't it? So thanks to the initial news leak, Deloitte has had many free pen tests being carried out on it, and it's found that key systems with RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, VPN, Virtual Private Networks, and proxy login details were leaked and wide open to the world. If evidence suggests it's no surprise the business was infiltrated, it appears to be all over the shop security-wise. On Tuesday, what seemed to be a collection of Deloitte's corporate VPNs, passwords, usernames, and operational details were found lurking within a public-facing GitHub-hosted repository. Nice one. These have since been removed in the past hour or so. Yes, can you actually clean anything off the internet? Nope. Once the horse has bolted, it is long gone and cannot be put back in the stable. The Register were tipped off by these pages by an eagle-eyed reader and grabs a couple of screenshots with potentially offending data. Yep, it's impossible to clear anything off the internet. So yes, that's some very important information left lying around there. VPN credentials for Deloitte, literally just written in clear text. Yeah, don't worry, it'll be fine. Proxy details, and that's on the F5 server for Deloitte. Nice. And what do we have quoted here? So just in the last day I found 7,000 to 12,000 open hosts for the firm spread across the globe, security researcher Dan Tensler, founder of Phobos Group, told Register. We're talking dozens of business units around the planet with dozens of IT departments showing at very different aptitude levels. The phrase truly exploitable comes to mind. For example, he found a Deloitte-owned Windows Server 2012 box in South Africa with RDP wide open, acting as what appears to be an Active Directory server. I can't stop laughing here. A crucial aspect of Microsoft-powered network, and with security updates still pending installation. Other cases show IT departments using outdated software and numerous other security failings. Yep, got a free pen test done. Oh, and what's this? Deloitte server with 445 exposed to the internet, found using Shodan. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing can possibly go wrong. Possibly go wrong. Well, that's the first thing to have ever gone wrong, isn't it? Pretty poor effort there from Deloitte. Moving across to Linux news, there was an exploit found within the kernel, so named CVE 2017 1,253. A flaw was found in the way the Linux kernel loaded ELF executables, provided that an application was built using a position-independent executable, PIE. The loader could allow part of the application's data segment to map over memory area reserved for its stack, potentially resulting in memory corruption. An unprivileged local user with access to SUID, PyBinary could use this flaw to escalate their privileges on the system. So it all does sound rather bad, and this news was reported throughout the week. However, it does not affect modern-day kernels, it affects the older long-term support kernels. So as detailed by Red Hat, it affects Linux kernel versions prior to 3.10.0693. So from the kernel version 4 onwards, the exploit doesn't exist because it had already been fixed. So it is purely an issue affecting long-term support kernels, and it was an issue that was dug up a couple of years ago, so it is a bit embarrassing it wasn't backported to the older long-term support kernels. But if you're running a modern-day up-to-date system, no, it's not affecting you. It's purely for older, more likely server-based systems. So if you are running an older Linux operating system, as long as it's still supported, you can just do your updates. From Softpedia, Linux-powered Ataribox customizable game console shipping late spring of 2018. You won't pay more than $299 to get the console. So Atari are following in the footsteps of the Nintendo's NES Mini and SNES Mini and releasing their own retro-style console. And as Softpedia have written, it will contain Linux. And they've purely gone down this route because it will be more customizable and consume less CPU and RAM usage. So what are they going to do? They're just going to use the existing open source products like the Stellar emulator and Emulation Station, I wonder. Under the hood, the Ataribox is powered by an AMD processor and uses recent AMD Radeon graphics technologies to offer users the best possible gaming experience. But hang on, the newest Atari console was the Jaguar, or if you're British, you might say Jaguar, as I would say Jaguar, so I'm not going to say the American accent anymore. So yeah, the Jaguar was the newest console, so that could easily be rendered by a Raspberry Pi, I think. Otherwise, it's the Atari 2600 was their most popular console, and that could be rendered by a potato or something as basic as that, because the games for that were only, between 2 and maybe 32 kilobytes. I mean, 32 kilobytes may be pushing it, so I do apologise if I've got that wrong. But I certainly remember 16 kilobyte games existing, so very small. So anyway, at the moment, the console is on an Indiegogo funding campaign, and there's some pictures of its styling, so it doesn't look anything like the 2600. Well, barely resembles anything from the Atari 2600. Certainly a lot thinner, not so much wood panelling. But yeah, that's what they've based on the 2600 design. I'm sure you can get a second-hand Atari 2600 for less than $300. Anyway, I will expect I'll pass on that. As much as I like my Atari 2600, I think a Raspberry Pi solution is much better and much cheaper. And I could always buy a broken 2600 and pop it in there. The Ubuntu 17.10 final beta has been released, so beta 2 stage of development, with the final release expected on the 19th of October. Because this week's news is going on a bit too long, I'm going to skip by this one and I pretty much just mention that all the derivatives of Ubuntu seem to be partaking in this beta 2 release. Korora 26 has been released. This is based on Fedora. I'm not so interested in the actual release itself, but more this note here, so it is only going to be 64-bit. 32-bit support has ended, so it is another Linux distribution which has dropped 32-bit support. And I've stated before, I find this perfectly acceptable. If you've got a small development team, you might as well focus resources to the biggest platform, which is going to be 64-bit CPUs. But what I did find surprising was the next story, that Ubuntu itself has dropped support for the 32-bit. So on the message boards dated the 27th of September, dear release team, please action the below and remove the Ubuntu desktop i386 daily live images from the beta and final milestones of 17.10, and therefore do not ship Ubuntu desktop i386 ISO artifact for 17.10. But at time of recording on the 1st of October, the image is still available on the daily build. So this only affects Ubuntu itself, not the derivatives. So I'd imagine that Lubuntu and possibly Xubuntu will continue with the 32-bit support because they're aimed at, well, lighter weight distributions and therefore older machines. It does not appear to mention the net install or server images, so it will likely be possible to install Ubuntu on a 32-bit system with the GNOME desktop. There's a blog post about the Ubuntu GNOME shell development. This is more about the Unity-like dock they have with the dash-to-dock extension. So there's been some customizations carried out on it, some further improvements. So it now shows the number of unread emails on Thunderbird. It seems to show the number of windows that are open with the orange dots there. Got a download bar on Firefox. But I do have to point out the most blatant, stupid feature of it. The launcher is at the bottom of the screen. If you're trying to make something as a transition for Unity users, it should be at the top. That's where the Unity launcher is, at the top of the bar. Anyway, I'll take a look at how Ubuntu is doing it very soon, and perhaps that feature to move it does exist, because it certainly does in dash-to-dock. A blog post from KDE Neon that Qt 5.10 Alpha is available for testing in KDE Neon Development and Unstable. I've done an install of this in VirtualBox and taken a quick look, and yeah, it's the 5.11 development version of the desktop, so yeah, it's got a different wallpaper. Looks quite good. Seems to run perfectly fine, but as it mentions there, it is development and it may be unstable, so perhaps don't use it on a production system. So you can only get this in the development and testing releases. It is not available in the user release, so you can't accidentally upgrade and find your system becoming unstable. I noticed this blog post about privacy in KDE, and I just thought it was quite an interesting one. So in 5 years, KDE software enables and promotes privacy. So the effect is expected to be twofold: offer users the tools to protect privacy and to lead a private and safe digital life without compromising their identity, exposing their habits and communications, and setting a high standard and example for others to follow. Define the state of the art of privacy protection in the age of big data and force others to follow suit, thereby increasing pressure on the whole industry and the ecosystem to protect users' privacy better. Do you know what? I can't imagine Microsoft ever writing a similar type of blog. Funny old thing with Windows 10, leaking data like a sieve. No, it all does sound very nice about KDE. They don't want your data. And so personal risk to users. The more data that is collected, the bigger the risk of identity theft. More collected data means that decisions will be made for the user based on skewed or incomplete information. Imagine insurance policies. Quite a long time ago I've stated that one. Collected data may end up in the hands of oppressive regimes, posing risk to users when travelling or even at home. Blackmail and users' private secrets may end up in the wrong hands. And 1984 was not supposed to be an instruction manual. Very true, very true. So I just found it an interesting blog to look through. KDE committing to the privacy of users. A subject which a few of you guys have been wanting for me to talk about, the Pirate Bay takes heat for testing Monero mining. So a few weeks back, the Pirate Bay tested a Monero JavaScript mining tool, so that when you access the website or certain pages of the website, your CPU usage would ramp up, and unfortunately it didn't throttle it particularly well, so I think it ramped up to over 90%, and it would start generating Monero coins, which I think from an article on the Register, it worked out that they were could make quite a few, is it tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars per month, potentially. Unfortunately, it's kind of backfired a bit because users weren't happy with the sneaky tactics. As a result, Pirate Bay have taken the script off and gone back to advertising. But you know what, I see the point of this because pressure from the movie industry has forced mainstream advertisers to pull their adverts from piracy websites. And this was done to strangle the income out of the piracy sites and essentially force them offline. So instead, the Pirate Bay and other torrent sites have had to go to really low-grade, shitty advertising sites that would just take money from anyone to advertise anything. An issue with that is that you tend to get a lot of malware from these sites. They're not filtering anything, they're just really low-grade advertising sites. So a lot of torrent users have gotten wise and use ad blockers, which then does deprive the torrent sites out of revenue. You can't run a website on nothing, there has to be a way of generating money. There are costs to pay with server and bandwidth usages. So I can understand the idea of looking towards cryptocurrency mining. So in principle, I do accept what they were doing. In practice, the way they did it, with taking up far too much CPU, you cannot go around potentially damaging users' systems. I mean, yeah, for a desktop computer, running the CPU at 90 to 100% is not too much of difficulty, but running it on a laptop, which may have a clogged air cooling intake, could potentially wreck the system. So I think the last I saw is they were going to throttle it to around 30%, which is more fair and reasonable. But I wanted to see a maximum of 30% CPU utilization. In other words, if you're doing something that is already using 90% of your CPU, the crypto coin mining cannot happen. It cannot take 30% of your remainder. It flat out should be 30% maximum of CPU If you're using nothing, you'll use up to 30% on the website. If you're using more, then they don't get anything. That's where your system should be able to balance the processing and cooling requirements. But there you are, that's my opinion towards it. I'm not discussing any ethics about piracy. A couple more security-related stories from Krebs on Security. A breach at Sonic Drive-In may have impacted millions of credit and debit cards. So Sonic Drive-In, a fast food chain with nearly 3,600 locations across 45 US states, has acknowledged a breach affecting an unknown number of store payment systems. The ongoing breach may have led to a fast sale of millions of stolen credit and debit accounts that are now being peddled in shadowy underground cybercrime stores. It's nice, so another business cannot keep hold of its important data. And following along on the same theme, that Wholesale says taprooms, restaurants have also been hacked. And I think these have leaked credit card information as well. Yes, they leaked payment card information, so it's been stolen from taprooms, restaurants, and other venues located within some of its stores. So although Amazon own Whole Foods, it does not affect Amazon itself. It is the Whole Foods system, because no doubt they're running on completely separate server systems with completely different views on security. So 3 major breaches in 1 week. And for this week's stupid news, I'm going something slightly different this week. We're going to have weird news. And this was a submission from UK Beast. So this is a not safe for work site, but the bit I'm going to show you on this video is safe for work. Just bear it in mind if you're going to look at the website yourself. So Maids to Code. Learn coding with cute maids. One Tokyo school programming course is attracting more male participants by introducing maids to its classes, a rather strange draw that will probably have some students fruitlessly flirting rather than actually learning. Lessons taught by classes will focus on interaction between students, allowing paying customers to spend more of their time with beloved maid classmates. Oh dear. So kind of an attempt towards an escort service. I don't think there's any chance I'm going to get ad revenue on this video this week, is there? Oh well. So, have a seat there reserved for maids only. I can't stop laughing at this one. So are the maids just sitting there looking pretty, or are they going to do any actual teaching? Well, I can see them messing around on a laptop there, but I don't know if that's anything particularly program related. So despite being the course's entire appeal, the service intends to also treat maids themselves as students and strives to teach them skills beyond treating customers as their, I can't pronounce that, and their worthlessly menial maid tasks. So, okay, they're treating maids as students, but are also flirting with the male students. So the price is 2,000 yen or $18 for a 3-hour session, including an hour for students to interact and work together. Reservations could be made now. Well, that's the news for this week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all later.